if you notice every entry that we have for each photograph, so you've got the title, but there is also a short description of the photograph, objective description of the photograph, and that then allowed me to talk about the importance of an alt description if you're using the photograph online, how it is important to describe it for somebody, for example, with a visual impairment. Plus the fact that I would also kind of, it includes an interest in how to attribute the photograph if you're reusing it. So see the wealth of opportunities I had in order to talk to people or let them explore by themselves all about these things. But, it was about sharing, it was about Creative Commons licenses, it was about accessibility, and it was about correctly attributing photographs. So with one stone, I was killing, I don't know how many birds. Apologies for bird lovers.
Good morning and welcome. This is the very first recording for the OEGlobal Voices podcast in 2025. I'm your host, Alan Levine, and I have to admit, I have a backlog of ones to edit, but I'm going to catch up. But this one's really important, and I just want to let you know that, of course, I said my name. I'm Alan Levine, and I'm coming to you from a place on the map that has a funny name called Moose Jaw. It's in the middle of Canada. This is also the traditional land of the Treaty 4, and just to recognize that. And the irony is that the name Moose Jaw, as I understood, came from the settlers who discovered it, misunderstanding the pronunciation of the indigenous people they met of the river that's here. And so there's a little bit of irony there that I like to share. But enough about me. I'm so excited to have with you for this podcast episode someone I've known for a long time, and I've been eager to do this. So we're going to be having a conversation with Bea de los Arcos, and she's coming to us. Well, she'll tell you where she's coming to us. But we're going to talk about probably, and she's going to say, oh, you say that to everybody, but it truly is one of the favorite things that I like being part of every year. So first morning, Bea, hello. How are you in 2025?
Hello, Alan. Thanks for having me. I am very well, thank you. 2025 so far is good. It's been a bit cold, I must say. We had a big storm not so long ago, but I'm good. So I'm coming to you, since you said I'm coming to you from Delft. So Delft is a small city or a big town in the Netherlands. We're right in between Rotterdam and The Hague, and it's a place very well known for its pottery, of course, Delft blue, and also for being the birthplace of Vermeer. Do you know the painter? There's a fabulous painting. You need to check it out. Everybody check it out, please. One of my most favorite paintings by Vermeer. Everybody talks about the girl with the pearl earring, but really you need to check a view of Delft, which he painted from this particular spot in Delft, and it's just fabulous. Check it out.
I'm going to do that, and it's going to be part of the show notes. And I'm so tempted now to go and search for that image, but I take that well, and I just love that you gave that description of your location. I also like to ask, because people will be listening to audio, I can see you. Can you just describe your surroundings and tell us where you're tuning in from?
Funny enough, this morning I was in the office. So I went to the office. I had meetings in the office. Our office is open plan. And I decided not to stay in the office and come back here to come back home for the recording of the podcast, purely because if I stayed in the office, because it's open plan, we need to go we've got these new, I call them the Superman cabins. So you go into the cabin and it goes, so you're in kind of your own space, isolated, and you don't hear anything. But I find it really claustrophobic, especially if you need to be there for longer than 15 minutes. So that's why I decided to come home. So I'm now sitting very comfortably in my own sitting room, and I've got my normal things. I like when I normally, from my time when I was a student and I needed to write and study, I like sitting on the couch and I like sitting on the bed. Don't tell anybody. So that's how I work. I work really well. So I am right now very comfortable sitting on my couch.
And that's where I want you to be. I already have so many thoughts, because I can think of course, they want to have this soundproof like facility to
Yeah.
get the perfect sound, but it's not very human. And I know for online meetings, like I enjoy seeing people in their spaces. And so, I'm already looking to see what books are on your shelf, and sometimes people have art behind them. Yeah, so look at that. I see
You see my set of dictionary. They are very good for, yeah, they're very thick. So if you need to use them for, I don't use the dictionary, my Spanish dictionary these days very often, but they're very good for kind of piling up and putting something on top. In this case, is the Wi-Fi connector. The function is beyond reading.
So I like to start at your very beginning. I ask people where in the world they grew up. Where did you enter this globe? And then we'll get to the part about how you managed to get to Delft. But just tell us about where you spent your childhood.
And that's very interesting because I always say, so I'm from Galicia in Spain. So my childhood was spent in Galicia. I'm from a big fishing port, a port city called Vigo, and that's where I grew up. And we grew up by the sea, not just any sea, but the wide Atlantic. And so wonderful childhood. But that's why do I, what the reason why I mentioned the sea is then I went to study in Salamanca. So I've got my degree from the University of Salamanca. So that meant that I had to go inland, closer to what's kind of at lone fields of the plains of Spain, and that was beautiful in its sense. But again, is this sense like, where does the world end? Where does the land end? I need to go see the sea. So that was always very important to me. So I grew up in Galicia as a child. So my childhood was there, but I always see that I grew up as an adult in Ireland. So Ireland has a very special place in my heart. I spent there many years, first as an Erasmus student and then working there at the University of Galway. So Galway for me is my second home. And
Oh,
that, of course, is still the wild Atlantic. So that's why it's so phenomenal.
there's so many things that of course it says about you. The importance of seeing the sea and land and the visual, and we'll get to that in a moment. In as terms of like your first experiences in school, um, what kind of student were you, and what do you remember from that school experience? What did school mean to you as a child?
School was okay. I was a good student, but it's not. I didn't love school and I didn't hate school either. For me, I think it was probably one of these things that you think, okay, I need to do this to get somewhere. So things will get better after this. Um, it was a great school in the sense that we had. So because I'm from Galicia, we do speak Spanish, but we do have our own language, our own culture that is different from the rest of Spain. It was a good school in that sense that we very much used both Galician and Spanish. We were taught, for example, I learned mathematics in primary school through Galician and not through Spanish. So it was a very interesting school in the sense that at the time, I'm gonna get into kind of when Spain was a dark place because of the certain person that we had, yeah, leading the country. The certain things you couldn't do. You couldn't really celebrate your own culture if it was different from Spanish culture. So, but we still managed to do that. And I remember that's where I learned to play the bagpipes. So when I was a child, I played the bagpipe.
You played the bagpipes?
I can't believe I'm saying this to you. So now
Is that hard? Is it hard to learn the bagpipes?
isn't hard to learn. It's not really. You kind of need to. I suppose maybe the most difficult thing is to control your breathing. So the fact that you need to blow to kind of fill the bag and then control the sound, so it's a stable sound and it doesn't go up and down, up and down. So no, it's great. It's a bit loud, so I wouldn't encourage every single child to actually pick it up if you're only practicing at home. You might as well just go and practice. Take your bagpipe to the park and that's what practice.
I just I love this because every time I have a conversation, I learn more about you. But just thinking from like the coast of Spain to Salamanca to Galway,
Hmm.
with stops I know in Milton Keynes at the Open University to
That's
Delft,
true.
and I'm probably missing a few things, but I just think it's so fortunate that you have these multiple experiences in terms of our interest in globally
Yeah.
open education. So how did you end up in Delft? Can we get there?
I ended up in Delft. Uh, the crude reality is I ended up in Delft because of Brexit. I did at the time I worked for the Open University, as you know, in the UK for a long time. Um, the minute they said, because I am Spanish, because I lived in Ireland, I lived in the UK. Now, because I'm European, I disagreed with this idea. I'm not going to. It made, I don't know, it may sound, you may disagree with me, but I did not want to be part of paying my tax in a country when they just didn't want to be part of the team. So, you're in Europe. I have a lot to be thankful for being European because I left Spain for the first time with an Erasmus grant to study in Galway, and that's what kind of started probably the best part of my life. So I am not. I see myself as a European, and I think that everybody can learn so much from actually being part of a community of people with there are different views and there are different perspectives and different ways of doing things, but you don't shut the door. You try and continue having that conversation. So that's why the minute they said yes to Brexit, I said, okay, I'm out of here. And so I tried to. My initial idea was to go back to Ireland, but sadly, I couldn't find a job in Ireland, and I was here in Delft. Remember, it was 2018 for Open Education Global. The conference happened here in Delft. I was here with Gojian crowd
Right.
because we had organized, and I just remember walking around the streets of Delft and thinking, this would be a lovely place to live for a while. And funny enough, Willem van Falkenborg, who at the time he continues, he's now director of the extension school, and I work with him. That's the job I do now. Um, I remember it was on X or Twitter or that thing, but I remember seeing a message. I was back home 2 days after the conference, and I saw a tweet from Willem saying, "Hey, we have a new position. Come work with us." It was a matter of checking, addressing. Oh yes, I can do this. Yes, I can do this. Oh, I can do this. Oh wait, no, I don't speak Dutch. So I emailed Willem and I said, "Hey, Willem, I don't speak Dutch, but I'd love to go for this venture." And he says, "Sure, we have a very international team," which is very true. We work with a whole lot of. There's a lovely bunch of people from all parts of the world, and we do speak English, which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. So that's how I ended up here.
I love stories like that. You couldn't predict that, right? An opportunity and the connection. And so, can you tell us about the work of the extension school and the role? How does open education factor into that organization?
That's a very good question. So I work for the Extension School for Continuing Education. So that's the whole title. And in a way, we are separate, like a separate department or a separate unit within the university. We work with everybody else. And when I first started, it was all about online education. So the mission of the extension school from when I started here 6 years ago, it was, well, we educate the world. So it's the world. So the world is not on campus. The world is not on the one platform, or the world is out there. So what are we gonna do in order to reach as many people as possible? So that was the openness as part of what it is that we do. Over the years, it has evolved more into, because we don't just only do online education. We do so. a big chunk of the work that I used to do in the beginning was designing MOOCs, helping people in the different faculties, all the teachers, the professors, researchers in the different faculties, to create MOOCs or to create professional education courses, but it was all online. Now we move closer to, it's more about lifelong learning. So is that only online learning? Probably not. But we still we still work on the basis of it's about the whole world. So it's not if you are gonna teach the bunch of students that you see in your class every day, um, share it. So how do we go from just your class on campus to actually making the story much bigger than that, and try and reach as many people as possible? So we're still working on that premise.
Oh, that's inspirational. I hope other people pick up on that, like I do, and especially to come from the institution to say that that's what they're there to do, which is even probably a bit more challenging. That the world is like it's rumbling out there, right?
It is challenging, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not easy, even coming from the institution, and everybody knows at the university what we do or what we want, but we still need to have very serious conversations with even the different faculties, faculty in the sense, the faculty of architecture, the faculty, so all the professors, the researchers, the teachers, the people in admin, the heads of the department, for example, especially when it comes to these times when we get funding, the government cuts the funding to education, as many other things. So everybody kind of has to tighten their belts. So the first thing that goes is, so it's challenging keeping the conversation to say, look, this is it. It may represent a challenge and an extra effort now, but in the long term, it's actually going to be more beneficial, hopefully, to what it is that we're doing. But it is challenging. Yeah.
Let's get to talking about the thing that we love talking about. And so it sounds like, even when I say it, it's like, oh, that's so wonderful. I get excited. So, this is also timely because this has, a relationship with Open Education Week that's coming up in early March. And that's particularly why I wanted to have this. Well, I miss you, but I wanted to have this conversation. So describe like now, can you give like the short pitch? What is We Like Sharing? Because it sounds obvious, like who wouldn't like sharing, but what is We Like Sharing?
We Like Sharing is really a Flickr account. If you think about it, that's what it is. So it is. So We Like Sharing is a repository of photographs that have been taken by staff, students, alumni, friends, and families of anyone who is related to the Delft Technical University. So that's my university. And every single photograph is available under an open license. So that means that we've created a collection of photographs of many different subjects, colors, flavors, whatever you want to call it, all released under an open license, so all can be reused under the different conditions, but all safe to use for the whole world to enjoy. That's what it is in a nutshell.
But Flickr, that's like it's old, and like all the cool people, they went to Instagram and now they're in PixelFed and they upload to Google Photos. Why stay with Flickr? It's kind of like dusty.
Because I'm old too, so old people stay with old people. No, it really because it is. It is an open community, and it is about photographs. It's about people who really love taking photographs, and so it's not. I don't know. I don't have an Instagram account, so but I have this idea of Instagram. You kind of have to post or sell something, do this, do the other. Well, Flickr, the community is there, and I wanted to really join the community because it's. If you're sharing a photograph, it wasn't necessarily about sharing with the university or staff or students in the university, but sharing it with the whole world. So that means that you're going to put your photograph in a place where somebody else is going to find it. So what is the place where everybody can see this photograph and decide to download it, use it as they like? Was the most open place that I could find where people really were going to be able to see that photograph, not because you have the link and I'll send you there, but because you discovered that photograph and you think, hey, I might use this for whatever purpose that I want to, that I need. So that was the idea about really opening a Flickr account.
And you don't have to convince me. This is for everybody listening, of course. You know where I stand. So this was it 2021? And why did you start this?
It was indeed February of 2021. So we're coming up now to our anniversary, and it started. It's a very simple idea. So it was. So as I said, we create online courses. Our MOOCs, the content of our MOOC, goes out under a Creative Commons license. We normally move the content of our MOOCs to our OpenCourseWare website. But I still wanted, on the one side, there are lots of photographs that we use in the courses. And remember, this is a technical university, so there could be lots of photographs that can be actually very reusable for other people. So I wanted to have a place to share the photographs that our course teams are creating. But then also kind of gave me the opportunity to say to people, okay, so this is your photograph, because the copyright stays with the person who created the photograph. This has nothing to do with the university. The copyright is not with the university. It's with the person who took the photograph. So they decide what license they want to use for the photograph. So that allowed me immediately to have that conversation about Creative Commons licenses and what happens when you share under an open license. So the fact that it's not about just putting something in there, but about saying, and also I will be able to tell you what happens with your photograph sometimes. But that it was kind of an excuse to talk to people really and teach people. And when I say people, it could start with my colleagues in the office, to all the educators I work with, to the students that we work with that help us creating the courses, to anyone. So it was the perfect excuse to talk about so many other things. If you notice, every entry that we have for each photograph, so you've got the title, but there is also a short description of the photograph, objective description of the photograph, and that then allowed me to talk about the importance of an alt description if you're using the photograph online, how it is important to describe it for somebody, for example, with a visual impairment. Plus the fact that I would also kind of, it includes an interest in how to attribute the photograph if you're reusing it. So see the wealth of opportunities I had in order to talk to people or let them explore by themselves all about these things. But, it was about sharing, it was about Creative Commons licenses, it was about accessibility, and it was about correctly attributing photographs. So with one stone, I was killing, I don't know how many birds. Apologies for bird lovers.
The reason I like it, because instead of going to people to kind of to start with the merits of open licensing and explaining licenses, you start with something that they're interested in, and so you kind of beautifully, I call it, people say backdoor people into that understanding. So this was started in February 21. It's become part of Open Education Week because you've done it every year since. What's happened over the time? How is it different or grown from the start?
The first time, it was just kind of a flash of inspiration, because I said, okay, wow, that's perfect. Open Education Week is coming up. Because remember, we started February, so it was kind of the perfect opportunity to kind of start populating the repository with more photographs, but also the perfect opportunity to say to people, hey, these photographs are here. So maybe you don't want to take part in the photo competition, but it was a way of saying, yeah, this repository exists, right? So I think the first time, 2021, I think we had something like 50 photographs, and I was already kind of on over. I was thinking, oh, wow, because that's the thing. I think what we just said to people was, send a photograph. And I think the topic, we've gone with the same topic as in what does open mean to you. So try and represent that in a photograph. So that is just so open in itself that it's just beautiful to see how people interpret it. So we've moved from the number of entries, because every year more and more people know about this. So in a way, because we've connected to Open Education Week, anyone, so the discussion it's not does not exactly start anymore. So what are we going for Open Education Week? No, it's like, hey, we're doing the open photo competition. Oh yeah, and then there is Open Education Week. So it then helps organizing other things around it as well. But so it has increased the number of, so every time there's more photographs, and the difference I think has been in terms of so we started from in year one. You were already part of the jury, so I try to get an international jury, because again it kind of helps expose, the more people who know about the repository, the better. So we moved from getting the jury members to pick all the winners to actually getting, last year we did, so yes, the jury members will pick three of the winners, but then we opened it up to everybody. So there would be one winner, which would be the people's choice. So that means that everybody can actually vote for to decide. So the people's choice in a way. Oh, this year what are we gonna do? Because it is increasingly more and more difficult to actually because we so many photographs coming in, they're all so fabulous that picking, we only have a budget of €100. So that means that you can it's not, so when we have 4 winners or 5 winners, it's very difficult to just select 4 or 5 entries. So I think this year what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it slightly. So I want to get the members of the jury to do a selection. So say, 20 photographs, and then those 20 photographs would be presented to the public, and all the winners will be actually the people's choice. I'll see whether it works or not. It's about trying to do something different every year. I thought this year it would be interesting to add another category. So the idea of what does open mean to you stays, because it is such a great, it's so simple, and at the same time, it gives us so many different perspectives of what people see as open. But what I did this year is I wanted to kind of encourage students in the university to send in more photographs. So I came up with this idea of photographing, so becoming curious about the spaces that you see inside the university. So, outside, this university has very iconic buildings. We have a fabulous library. It's the only library where you can actually sit on the roof to have your sandwich, and it's iconic places, and then you've got daffodils and tulips. So, but I'm not interested in the outside. I'm interested to see what happens inside. So I want people to become curious about the fabulous spaces that we have inside, whether it is the Faculty of Architecture or to become even curious about the machines that they use every day and the research that they're doing, and try to kind of represent that in a photo. So that is going to be the new category. So we'll see what happens.
I really love that, because I mean, a few things, like being able, like being part of the jury, or for anybody who can like look at the pictures come in, it's just so intriguing to see how people see their world. And a lot of it is in the Netherlands, but a lot of people share pictures of their travels. And so I think this idea of like seeing the world through other people's eyes is really powerful. And then what you're describing is, and I used to try to do this when I taught some media classes. It's like, yeah, you see a beautiful, like I see a great sunrise or beautiful mountains, or like you say, the tulips, iconic landscape scenes, but being able to notice the beauty and details, like the texture of wood or the way
Yes.
light is coming in through a window. Like there's really something powerful about noticing the small, and I'm really like I love that, and I love that you are each year you kind of like you refine or you change, and that says it's not like just this fixed thing that you turn out every year.
I don't know anything about photographs. Honestly, every year I say, "Oh, I love to take a course and learn how to use a camera properly," but I never find the time, and so I don't. I only have my phone, and I think for me it's the only positive things that mobile phones have brought to the world. I honestly hate mobile phones, and everybody's there with a phone and app. No, I only use my phone. I only have my phone with me because I like to take photographs. I like to become, it's not that, it's inviting people in a way to look at their normal day. It's just that tiny little bit different. So even if you get closer, or if you get a bit further away, or you look up, or you look down, just to kind of be curious about what it is that is around you. And then everybody has their phone with them. So it's not about, perspective of this. Okay, some people know a lot. So for me, I would love to find out and to learn all about that, but I don't. And but I still kind of enjoy, all these visuals. I don't know if I am a visual person, but I love exactly seeing how, yeah, what other people find curious and what it is that they've been or what it is that they're doing.
And I totally like my brain lapsed. I forgot to mention in the beginning that We Like Sharing was recognized in 2023 with the OE Award for
True.
Excellence in the wild card category, and it's perfect for that. Oh, I want to ask, like, because you've seen all the, you've looked at every picture,
Mm-hmm.
and you've seen what's come in. Are there ones that like really stand out in your memory that like maybe surprised you? And then any stories of ones that got reused out of that collection?
I have them actually. Yes, there's the one. I love the photograph. It was one of the winners from last year. And it is, I don't know if you remember, it's a white wall and there are lots of hearts
Yes.
painted in different colors on the door. It's a wall and a door and lots of photographs or lots of hearts. So for some reason I love that photograph, and because there's so much love, just the one wall. It's actually called Love on a Wall, I think. Um, and so that was picked up in Flickr by the algorithm in Explore. So it attracted lots of views. So that kind of allows me to go back to in this case, that person wants to remain anonymous, so it's using just a nickname. But it allows me to go to this person and say, "Hey, this is what's happening to your photograph," and of course they get super excited. Wow! But the interesting thing also about this photograph, and that's partly why I love it. Well, I loved it anyway before this happened, but then that was used just as a perfect example. We always think about reuse as in, okay, lots of photographs I know have been reused because I see them on presentations by colleagues. You just pick the photograph and then you put it on your slide. And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful example of reuse. But in this case, it was just so much more interesting because one of those little hearts on the wall, so not the whole photograph, they picked the little heart, they took it out of the photograph, and they used the heart on the cover of a little booklet from the University of Leeds. This is Chrissy Neranzi, so kudos to her and her colleagues. And it's a little booklet, I think it's called With Love from Your Supervisor. And it's about giving advice to research students, to PhD students, about how to go about their research. And the cover is like a little person holding the book, and all this heart. So that's the love from your supervisor. And that heart is the heart that is one of the hearts in Love on a Wall. So I thought it was just amazing. Amazing. We have all the photographs that I know. If I had a bit more time, I would be able to get it. The Flickr themselves make it difficult to to find out exactly. So you know that the photograph is being reused, but you don't know exactly where. But I know every now and then, I know that there's been some other photographs have been used in news sites, for example, or websites about tourist websites and stuff like that. But I think the example of the heart is definitely my favorite.
That's beautiful. And if you think of them later, you can send me and I'll put in a show notes. I will say as a Flickr user, if you have a paid account, I don't know if you have a free or a pro account.
It's a paid account.
Yeah, you get access to the service called Pixie, Pixy. And the way that is used is like not the greatest way. People use it to find when their pictures have been reused, and then they can like issue like copyright claims against them. But what I use it for is it does a magnificent job of finding places that your picture is used that you would have never come across.
I didn't know about this. Thanks.
If you look it up at Pixy it's probably .com, and you log in through your Flickr account, and it basically continually monitors your Flickr account and does reverse image search. And so you're able to discover a lot more of that reuse.
Oh, that's great, because then I can go back to the person and say, it's amazing. It's you just, I love making people happy, and sometimes it's just so simple. As
Yeah.
a colleague here at the office, and you used one of her photographs at some stage in something in for OEGlobal, and I told her, and then she was super happy. Wow, it's just yay.
Okay, so I need your help brainstorming because, like, I know we've talked before, and to me, like, what you've done is so replicable. Like, anybody can
Yes.
set this up. It's not complex. You don't need fancy technology.
Mm-hmm.
It's very doable. And I've been hoping to inspire someone else to do their own version of We Like Sharing. And I did a little experiment last year for OE Global. And so I'm going to do it again because, I'm not going to give
Yes.
up on this. And so I've just been starting to think about how to frame it, whether the topic of open, and now I'm thinking about your idea of looking at the small detail, and I like that, and maybe I'll just like mimic what you did, and I'm thinking as well as just like where do you see open in the world, and I mean that's kind of the question that you asked, but like it could be a metaphor or it could be like something
Yeah.
that is a product. So that's what I'm thinking. But can you think of any other ideas that might help my little version, my wee little version of the big We Like Sharing?
It has to be something that is simple enough for people to do. There was the second year of the competition, I think, we decided to go with the topic of energy transition, pretty much only to kind of follow what was happening in the university. And funny enough, that was the year that we got the least amount of photographs because it was energy transition. It's a very interesting topic, but difficult to represent.
Yeah.
So it has to be something that it's easy for me I can see it. I can see, I think it's something that if I'm walking from the house to work, where am I seeing open from here to the office, or where am I seeing open outside the window, or where am I seeing open inside my home? It can be something. You could even. I'm just thinking. I opened an orange this morning. I opened up and I said, "Wow, it was such a beautiful orange." So that would have counted already as. I think I would put the emphasis on don't make it complicated to yourself. For yourself, you don't have to hop on a flight and then take a picture. Well, if you happen to be on a flight, then, take a picture of the clouds. But it's closer to you. There's something that you could actually represent in a photograph.
And I think the best ones are like when you describe opening the orange, like in the moment, you're not even thinking about it, and something, it almost calls to you. And rather than saying like, okay, today's the day I'm going to go out and get my perfect metaphor of open. And then you're thinking too much about it. It's like you should stumble across it, right?
Exactly. It kind of comes to you. It comes to you. I was one of the photographs that I took is when I was waiting for the tram, and I just looked down, and there was a campaign in Delft at the time around violence against women. So it was just, they had stamped on the pavement this, a hand, stop violence against women. So I was thinking, wow, this is so powerful already. Become a bit more curious about what it is that is happening around you. Right? Don't look at your phone with your apps or your messages. No, just look away from your phone. What it is? Maybe that's what it is. Look away from your phone. What can you see?
That's good. Very helpful. I am excited to do it again. And I know, of course, the flagship we like sharing will be available for everybody to participate in. And it's always early because the activities come in through February and leading up to March. But again, just to remind folks that we're looking for any event or activity that you're doing. And it doesn't, sometimes people get stuck up. Like, I can't do it that first week in March. Like in other parts of the world, that's the beginning of the semester. Open Education Week is just the time where we make a lot of noise about it. It's anything that's going on between now and, say, the end of March.
Exactly. See, for us, it's right before the week is a week of holidays for the school. So a lot of people pretty much disappear, which is why we start early. So that's why we tell them before they go on holidays, and they can still submit a photograph after they come from their holidays, just in case they were a bit more relaxed and they found something there. So, yeah. No, I wish it was that easy. Let's face it, Alan, come on. We will always, this is open education. So we will be at it all the time. It is true that more and more people know about it. It helps a lot. For example, it was, I think, so every year we organize an education day, or there's an education day at the university. And if one of the big guys, so president or the vice president, rector, whoever, if they actually happen to use one of those photographs in their presentation, then you just go, wow, I made it. But even then, no, you still need to keep at people at this. I continue. At some point I was thinking, so we have now over 1,300 photographs in the repository, in the photo bank. And so I accept submissions all year long, and there's some of them are my photographs as well, but I'm still constantly having to remind people, somebody says, hey, look at this one we have. Oh, that would be lovely. Do you know where that could go? Is this share it? I think that is, I saw that some estates, yes, there are certain colleagues who would send regularly photographs, but most of the time I still need to do a lot of pestering. But you know what? The energy is there, and the fact that I've got also my colleagues in communication who help me a lot with the communication channels of the university. I think that's important. So it goes to the alumni, it goes to the whole of the university, it goes to the postgrads, it goes. So then that kind of helps a little by little. It's not something that is like, whoa, I won the lottery, instant success. No. It's a lot of hard work, and you have to keep going at it, and so you really need to. If you love, that's a good thing. I love these, and it just brings me so much. So that's why I cannot keep doing it. But it is a lot of hard work.
I can tell, and I ask podcast listeners, is that voice you're hearing from Bea like pestering? Like, how could you resist?
Exactly. How could you choose? It's my charm. It's Spanish charm. Yeah. No, it is actually. But you know what helps? What helps as well? Look at it. So make it as simple as possible for people. Get from them the things that you need. So what permissions are they given for their photograph to be used? So that needs to come from them. But also say to them, I will come back to you. I will help your photograph have a life of its own. I will come back to you and tell you what happened to your photograph. But also, because it is a competition, there has to be an award. And you will be amazed, even if it is. So with the little awards that, as I say, we only have a budget of €100. We divided into either 20 or 25 euros. And I wanted to support local businesses with with that. So that means that one of the awards. So the winners can choose what they want their 20 euros to be spent on. So there's a local cafe, there's the local pizza place, there's books and cinema are always a good win. So even if it is something, I think people, especially when you're talking about students, they do want to, hey, I won and this is what I got for. So even if it is something, and if remember in the UK, what we used to do a lot is, because it's actually, if we make it international and you accept submissions from everywhere, I'm not going to send you a voucher to come to Delft and have a coffee. I would love to, but that's a bit difficult, right? But then one of the things we used to do in the UK a lot is the fact, okay, so you know what? It's 20 euro, 25 euro. I will give that money to a charity of your choice. So that it's about helping others as well, so.
I have been thinking about that. I'm also exploring, maybe we can set up something where people can get a credit to use in an online store to order like an OEGlobal t-shirt. And so I'm with you on thinking that's that, or I really like the idea of a contribution made in your name. I think that's almost better than swag.
I think so. I think we all have our heart always beats for a little something somewhere. So it's so easy.
It's always so energetic to talk to you. I have one last question. Like, okay, outside of the work at the university and taking pictures, like, what is something that brings you joy to do away from all this? Like, what's an activity or a hobby that is really special to you?
I'm a walker, so I'm a hiker. I just love walking. So I live in a land of bicycles, and I'm probably the only one who goes to work by foot. And I love hiking, and I love I just go up a mountain, go by the coast, just walk, and walk. Walk if I can have a route. Used to go with some friends. Actually, it was a good friend from Canada and another. A group of international women, so from Ireland, from Spain, from Sweden, and from Canada. We did part of the Camino de Santiago, but coming through Portugal. So that's the kind of I enjoy that an awful lot. The fact that it's you and your little rucksack and your feet, and you need to go from here to there because that's where you're gonna sleep tonight, and then from there you're gonna keep going to the following. And it's the chats as you go along the way, or it's the silences, or it's the. So that's what I love very much. This country is a bit flat, so it's not the most exciting. I'm sorry to say, but yeah. So that means that you can go farther because it's flat. So yeah, that's me.
Oh, it's so wonderful to talk to you, Bea. And I always say, like, we like sharing, and so we're gonna do it again. And thank you so much for being an inspiration to us.
Thank you, Alan. I love chatting to you. I love chatting to everybody, but this is always so enjoyable. So thank you.
Okay, folks, and get ready. Start looking around your world for things of open, and you'll be able to share that with, enter that into our contest. And we look forward to what comes out of We Like Sharing from the root We Like Sharing.
Go for it.
Well, hello, listener. You may be the special listener that actually listened all the way to the end of the podcast. I should say something really special here, and I will. Wasn't that a fabulous conversation? I hope you're inspired to go take one of those walks. Spend a lot of time outside, observing the world, taking pictures, sharing pictures, and we hope that you can say, we like sharing too. This conversation, this podcast episode, was actually recorded back in January 29th, 2025. And we had the full intention of being able to publish this to inspire you before Open Education Week. I don't know what happened. I don't have any excuses. But here we are now, quite a few weeks later, after Open Education Week. And I really, really encourage you to look in the show notes for the link to We Like Sharing and to really soak in not just the winners of the competition, but all the ones that have been shared, and enjoy the pictures, the whole concept of what it means to encourage that culture of sharing that Bea spoke so well of. This is another episode of OEGlobal Voices, the podcast that we do at Open Education Global. Each episode, we like to pick a different musical track that somehow connects to the show's topic or theme. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy, but they always come from the Free Music Archive. For today's show, I found a track called Photo Album that's very, very appropriate, from an artist named Crowander? I don't know. Maybe the band has to tell me. But this music, and this is why we always select the Free Music Archive, this music is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution, which I'm doing here, non-commercial license. And you'll find this episode on our site. Do you know where it is? It's voices.oeglobal.org. It's on the web. And we hope you engage in follow-up conversations with our guests in the OEG community. Please, we could really use more conversations there. You heard me say please, right? And that's at connect.oeglobal.org. And if you're listening and you want to share your open education story, work experience, interest, anything, or suggest a future guest, please let us know. You can visit our website. You can send an email to voices@oeglobal.org. You can take a picture and share it on Flickr. Just let us know and stay tuned for our next episode. We have more coming up very soon.